Welcome to the Anxious to Secure podcast. I'm Yula, your host, and I'm so happy you're back up here for the first time. So today's episode is all about overthinking, anxiety, triggers, and long-distance relationship. I'm super happy someone handed in a bunch of questions over Instagram, and I want to take a moment to really celebrate you, because years ago when I was really struggling with my anxious attachment style, I didn't even think of reaching out to therapists or coaches online to hand over any question, to only ask for help. And I was super, shy and insecure. And I recommend everyone out there, if you have specific questions, challenges, goals in your relationships about your anxious attachment style, anything like this, please head over to Instagram and just message me, DM me, and I can really guide you through step by step here on my podcast in depth. Anyway, so I'm happy, to talk you through this, because I haven't touched on any of these topics like long distance relationship, and I also have my experience with that, so that's actually helpful. I can relate. And asking for help is not easy when you're used to handling everything on your own, especially. And I noticed it's kind of a pattern. As someone who has been anxiously attached, we often overestimate our problems, but underestimating our resources that we actually have. Even just asking for help can be a very big, tough thing to be. So if you're here listening, if you're working on yourself, I see you, I applaud you, give yourself a high five, because celebrating your wins is very important too. So sending a huge digital hug, and let's go into this. The person messaged me, my partner and I will be transitioning to long distance soon. And that for an anxiously attached person is so scary. I hear that completely. And here are some more questions and challenges I've asked about. And the person listed a few bullet points. So how to not react to triggers, how to calm my nervous system, how to not feel so overwhelmed when I'm triggered, how to not overthink and spiral, and how to not need reassurance. So a lot of great points. If you're listening closely, they all fall under the same category. So triggers, emotional mastery, long distance relationship we can use as an example to apply these tools with. And that's why we're going to break them down today. I'll walk you through understanding your triggers, why they happen, and what's going on with our brain and with our body. How to stop spiraling, and what does it actually mean when we overthink, why we overthink, and actually calming your nervous system, handling uncertainty, which is a huge part of, why we're feeling so anxious, needing reassurance and all of this stuff. Why it feels so triggering for someone who's anxiously attached, why it can be like a nightmare for someone like us. Or I used to be anxiously attached, now not anymore. So grateful that I worked on that and found really tools that worked for me. And hopefully you'll find something today that works for you too. Let's talk about what is a trigger. So a trigger is anything that sets off an intense emotional reaction in your body, right? And it can be something very small, like your partner casually mentioning how busy they will be after the move, or something bigger, realizing they'll be in a new city, meeting new people, and building a new life without you physically being there. But there's, something that matters here. The trigger is not the real problem. Again, the trigger is not the real problem here. It feels like the real problem, but in reality, the issue is the meaning you have attached to the thing, to the trigger. Because when you have an anxious attachment style, your brain is wired to see threats in your relationship all the time, everywhere, and especially anything that could be a threat to your relationship ending, he'll be leaving you, and you're not being good enough or not lovable, anything like that. So it's on high alert for anything that might mean you're about to be abandoned. So let's talk about what's actually happening when you're triggered. Your nervous system gets flooded with lots of stress, lots of adrenaline. And it's literally like it's getting hijacked. Your thoughts are spiraling. You've mentioned you're struggling with overthinking, and that's exactly what's happening when you're getting triggered. A lot of times when you have an anxious attachment style, you're trying to create control inside your mind. You're trying to find a solution. You're jumping to the worst case scenarios and all of these things. And here is why. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system, sounds like the alarm, like danger, danger, and they're slipping away, they're escaping, and they don't want to be with me anymore. And your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that is there for logical thinking, to really find solutions, is shutting down when you're triggered. So you can't think logical, you can't think clearly, and only the primitive part of the brain is active. So you literally can't think clearly and you're just spinning and spinning. So your body releases cortisol and adrenaline, and you're sending, yourself into fight or flight or freeze or fawn mode, which is like a, survival state or low-key survival. And you're just trying to figure things out and you can't think clear, your body is reacting to it, to like this threat. You're most likely, if you have an anxious attachment style, running towards it, trying to talk to your partner to find a solution, or criticizing, overthinking, trying to find, a solution to this problem. That's why in this moment it feels impossible to stop overthinking, because you're trying to find the solution. Your nervous system is in panic mode and you're thinking it's really, really urgent. You have to find a solution right now. And your brain is treating the idea of being a part of this life-threatening emergency. And I've been there, and it feels terrible and it feels all urgent, and you think you have to figure this out, but you don't. And you are safe, even though your brain doesn't know it yet, or your body doesn't know it yet. Also, so when your brain is hijacked, your triggers bring out all the old wounds from the past. Because the thing is about triggers they're never about the actual moment right now. They're always about the past, about your anxious attachment root causes, about how your abandonment wound was created, the moment when you felt uncertain, the first time when you were a baby, when you were a kid, often you don't even know when this was, created, this wound. But it feels so powerful because these are trapped core emotions that are always triggered when things like this happening. So suddenly it's not just about, the distance, it's about every time you passed, when someone left and this pattern got reinforced, when love felt uncertain, which means unsafe, you didn't feel emotionally safe, when you had to work hard maybe to keep them close. And that's why this feels like this big reaction. And if you have an anxious attachment style, you have learned only to feel safe through closeness. If you're close to someone, and through co-regulation, and you haven't learned to self-soothe, to process your emotions, to be with your emotions, to learn that you're okay on your own. That is a big part of this, of relationship anxiety. This long-term. That's why long distance relationships can feel like this huge threat to your nervous system, to your safety, because you only feel really, even if it's happening subconsciously, safe with your partner. The closer, the better. If you have an anxious attachment style, your nervous system is naturally wired to be hypersensitive to, for connection. And your brain has learned early on, love is uncertain. People pull away, and if they don't keep connection alive, I'll lose it. So when something is threatening that connection, like moving to different cities, it sends your nervous system into overdrive. That is not your fault. It's just how your brain is wired. And the good news is you can rewire it again. You can create a new response towards it. Now let's talk about this emotional pain that we add towards the neutral situations and circumstances that we are presented with. So because here's the truth. You don't want to never feel emotional pain. So we want to feel emotional pain sometimes. Some pain is actually necessary. We want to feel grief sometimes when we want to say goodbye to a certain chapter, when we want to grieve a friend who has passed away or a family member. We want to feel that. We don't numb ourselves. We might tell ourselves this in the moment. It's the kind of pain that comes from things that really matter, like missing our partner because you love them. We kind of want to feel at least to a certain degree, emotional pain. For example, if you're sad about saying goodbye at the airport, that's normal. That means you care and you miss them, you're going to miss them, and you love them. If your partner wouldn't care at all, if they would leave and move to a different city or a different country, and they wouldn't care and they would just leave and would be only excited, that would sting a little bit as well. So emotional pain is needed. It's kind of necessary. And it's part of, the human experience. And if you feel a little lonely adjusting to that distance, that makes sense. You're a human and that's okay. It's just learning to adjust with this period and even maybe see it as an opportunity, especially if you have an anxious attachment style. This can be a huge, huge, huge part of a new chapter of like a growth period to learn about, what I can be on my own. And I can learn things about myself. I can learn to be alone without having this huge amount of anxiety. Maybe at the beginning, but maybe what can I do to learn to self-soothe, to create goals for myself, to dive into new hobbies. This can be a huge opportunity instead of looking at it as a way as this is this huge negative nightmare scenario. But anyway, what I wanted to say is actually there's this unwanted emotional pain, the extra suffering we add on top of our emotions. So it comes from overthinking every text and overanalyzing their tone. Maybe if your partner is not replying to you right away, let's say in future, if they are on a night out or if they haven't replied all day and you're then overthinking the situation, I'm going to make this mean they don't care anymore or they have moved on. This is unwanted emotional pain you want to challenge and you don't want to question here because this is not helpful for you. Or beating yourself up for feeling needy in air quotes, catastrophizing, I can't pronounce it, catastrophizing. You know what I mean? And assuming the worst, like what if, they forgot about me? What if they found someone else in that city? What if they're having the most amazing time and I'm suffering here? All of these what if thoughts. And instead of just feeling sadness or missing them, you spiral into fears and insecurities and panic. And that is what keeps you stuck. This is additional layers of pain you are adding on top of the situation is actually neutral. Here's the good news. Ready? You can learn how to calm your nervous system and build trust even from a distance. Build self-trust, shed the layers of pain away bit by bit. And this is where also my 4R method comes in. That's something I already developed over the years when I was anxiously attached. I have found so many different tools that worked. And in the end, I kind of tried to, find a framework that helped me process this in a more combined way, because healing anxious attachment can be so complex and so complicated. This is just one framework that can be applied here as well to really move through a trigger and through like 4 steps. And I'm gonna walk you through. So when you're triggered, instead of letting your brain spiral, here's what you can do. Step 1. Release your emotions. The first part is all about emotions, releasing the energy, learning to process your emotions, to be with your emotions instead of pushing them away. Feel it. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling? Name the emotion. Say, I feel anxious. I feel scared. I feel abandoned. You can print yourself off feelings wheel online, stick it on your fridge to get comfortable and familiar with the emotions more, and be able to name the emotions, the more you're able to process them. Then breathe, do a body scan, like where is the emotion in my body? Is it in my chest? How does it feel? Is it like a stinging emotion? Is it very hot? Is it in my throat? Do I feel like I can't really breathe? Is it like I'm locked up? How exactly does it feel? Where is it? Can I describe it like to someone who has never heard about an emotion? Imagine describing an emotion to a little kid, or pretending you're like a researcher who's very curious. It's like, hey, I think it's like a tingling sensation. It's energy moving through my body. It's very heavy. It's very hot. I can it's like a reddish color or blue. Just be very curious and describe it in that kind of way. And this is very powerful. It's kind of an art to learn to process your emotions. The more you avoid feeling the feelings and processing the emotions, the bigger it becomes. But if you actually allow it to be there, it actually just takes 90 seconds or 5 minutes to process it. Only if you really, done the first step, you can move over to the next step. And that is working on your beliefs. So ask yourself, what story am I telling myself? So is it actually true? Or is my brain jumping to the worst case scenarios? Am I just thinking in like negatives? Am I basing my conclusions on my emotions? Am I just thinking this because I feel anxious right now? And these are all cognitive distortions. For example, if you only think in should statements, my partner should be staying with me, my partner shouldn't move, my partner should make me feel happy, and should reassure me. All of these things are should statements, and they are cognitive distortions as well. And really challenge these beliefs and thoughts and get curious. The step 3 now is reconnect with your needs, with yourself. Usually we do something, we take action because we have unmet needs from our childhood. To really ask yourself, what does my inner child need? Usually you're trying to get your partner to fulfill your needs as someone who has an anxious attachment style. So ask yourself, what do I actually need right now? And then the first step is try to fulfill this need yourself. So if you, want reassurance, ask, how can I reassure myself here? Because usually, we ask for reassurance from our partner, which is the easier way, but it's also fueling our abandonment fear. It's fueling this dependency on our partner. But if we can give this ourselves, we realize, what, we are much stronger than we are. We don't depend on our partner. They're just an addition to our world. They're just a cherry on top. And this is so empowering. And then the second step of this framework is later on, you can then ask for things as well to meet you in the middle or to help you to fulfill your needs as well as an addition. But I would recommend mostly working on yourself, fulfilling your needs yourself, and then later on learning to express yourself to your partner better. Because if you have an anxious attachment style, your emotions would get in the way of expressing yourself calmly from a detached place to your partner. And communication is the last tool I always teach my client, because your anxiety will get in the way of your communication. It's never really about what you say often. It's more like how you say it. And as someone who's anxiously attached, you're probably either going to use passive communication or passive aggressive communication. And either way, they're not going to be very well received for your partner who probably has an avoidant attachment style. So that is probably the reason why they're getting so, I never put my finger on why my partner gets so defensive all the bloody time. I used to think I used to be the most kindest person on the planet. Once I shared this with my friend, and I was like, why is my partner getting so defensive with everything? She didn't know, because she also thought, if I'm expressing myself, I'm super nice, I'm super kind. And only once I stumbled across attachment theory, about core wounds, core beliefs, triggers, everything made sense. So that's, again, communication is a different topic, but this is just a quick side note. So, and the fourth step is reflect on your shadows. And that's where I'm not going to go much into detail here, but that is more like, it is about Carl Jung's work and shadow work. It's about ask yourself, is this reaction actually about this moment, or is it bringing up more old wounds about my past, and how can I accept all parts of myself? And for example, if you're feeling triggered by a partner abandoning you or leaving you, or not showing up in the right way, how you wish they would show up for you, ask yourself, how are you not showing up in the way you would love it for yourself? So this is really powerful. I would really highly recommend journaling these questions, because this is where you go really deep and really unpeel all of these layers, an onion, go really deep, because this is where you can again give yourself what you are missing from your childhood, and to again fill your own cup first. Because if you have an abandonment wound or an unworthiness wound, your partner can't fill this wound for you, even if you might not think this yet. And a little bit about my own story I actually wanted to share with you. I used to be in a long distance relationship when I was in uni. At that time was a different partner. He also had an anxious attachment style. I also had one. I didn't know it at that time. We were both anxious. And I used to overthink everything at that time as well. And long distance can bring out the worst inside you if you have no awareness about everything. At that time, I had no idea about attachment styles. I didn't know anything that I was even overthinking about my sabotaging patterns. And that's why it was such a rough period for me. But not everything was bad. There were amazing parts when we saw each other. So he was in London, I was in Germany, I was in Bremen. I was in Bielefeld studying fashion. And we saw, I don't know how often we saw each other, actually, maybe every 3-4 months. Not sure, and not often, but when we saw each other, it was really amazing. We spent maybe a week together, let's say, or even shorter, but we had an amazing time. And I think distance can bring you much closer together, especially if your partner has an avoidant attachment style, because they crave and need space. And I think any relationship could need some space and distance sometimes, because then when you see each other, you have so much more things to talk about. You actually focus on each other, even if it's just a weekend. It will create so much more excitement during the time. The important thing is only that you take care of yourself, that you don't hyper obsess over what your partner is doing and not adding meaning into what they're doing when they don't fixate on you. It's important that you actually be happy for your partner if they're having a good time there. And the most important thing is that you focus on your own emotional well-being, self-soothe, process your emotions, and really create a life you're obsessed with in your own world. Or meet up with friends if you have friends, or try to connect with new people, because I know friendships is another topic that can be very challenging nowadays. I can relate to that as well. Sorry, I wasn't finished with that, actually, my story. So now when I was in a long distance relationship back in uni, so I was super anxiously attached. There's a lot of uncertainty driving me crazy. One day I saw a girl comment on my partner's Facebook account. Facebook was a little bit more common at that time. Now I think it's a bit going a bit off. But anyway, and I was completely mad because it was like, I think one day before his birthday, and I didn't know who that girl was. I didn't know anything what was going on in their relationship. I didn't know how much she was into him. I think she was just saying something like, "Hey, I can't wait to give you a happy birthday, or wish you a happy birthday in person tomorrow." And I was like, whoa, what is that supposed to mean? My brain went into the wildest places. I went nuts, nearly booked a flight right away the next day for the next available moment. Again, I was studying, I couldn't just leave, but and from the city where I was living, there was no airport, so I would have had to take somehow a train from Bielefeld to Bremen, which would have been maybe 2 hours, but it's not easy to get a train. It's expensive. Then Ryanair flight, like a spontaneous one, again would have been way out of my uni budget. And yeah, everything happened because I was so triggered, and because uncertainty was this huge thing. I didn't know anything about them, and I think my partner wasn't really helping at the time. And we were not on a phone call, I think, on that time. We were just texting, which made everything worse, because when you can't hear someone on their phone, you don't know the actual situation. So that was just it. But because of that time, I just didn't know anything. I was in the dark. It was made everything so much worse. Fast forward to today, I never overthink anything anymore, especially not in my relationship. And I mastered the tools for it, and I can really identify my needs as well and meet them myself. And even when there's distance or conflict, my brain doesn't jump to the worst places anymore, because I know I've got myself in the end, and that is the most important part and lesson here. But it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen within a few weeks. It did take a few months. With practice, I had one-on-one coaching calls every week for a while, and guidance of other coaches. I was in a membership with other people, connecting with them, and was watching other people being coached and learning from them. Did a lot of self-studying in their courses, seeing really what is working, what is helpful, and applied these tools. And I really tried to really process my emotions and doing all of this stuff basically that helped. So now I wanted to walk you through the 4R method again, but a little bit more specific way, based on the long distance relationship trigger. So if you have the trigger, the thought of your partner leaving for long distance, then again, do this. First, release your emotions. First, your body needs to process the unhealed or stuck emotions in your body. You can't logically think your way out of this, right? The trigger's in your nervous system. You're in full panic mode. So try this. Say it out loud. I'm feeling anxious because my brain is detecting distance as a threat, but I am safe. Even though maybe my brain tells me different things, I know I am safe. A part of me is feeling anxious or scared. Important as well. Tell yourself always like a part of me or I feel. Never tell yourself I am scared or I am an anxious person. Because if you tell yourself I am, it makes it all very heavy and very strong. It sounds like you are this anxious person. You are this anxiety, but you are not. To never tell yourself I am, always say I feel, part of me feels, because this gives room for other parts to exist at the same time. And remember always, feelings are always valid. You're always allowed to feel any kind of emotions, but your stories are not, your thoughts are not. So you can also then, shake yourself off literally to reset your nervous system, literally, shake yourself like a dog, jump up and down, release the tension. If you feel anxiety is moving up and down your body, if you feel it it's like an activating emotion. You can also put a hand on your heart. That is something that's soothing for me a lot. It feels very comforting. And you can breathe in and very, very slowly. Because when you're anxious, everything goes very fast. You breathe very shallow and your brain thinks, oh my God, there's a threat. You have to hold your breath and it's kind of fighting, this threat. But if you breathe very shallow, you put a hand on your heart, and you take it very slow and easy, you kind of slowly tell yourself, what, you're safe and you've got this. And by the way, if you're again stuck with overthinking, there's a very fast hack that is very important as well that you can do here to get out of your head and into your body. You can use a sensory tool like holding ice cubes or splashing cold water into your face, because this is changing your body temperature. And that is a very, very powerful tool to stop you from reinforcing your stories and beliefs. And if that's not always possible, that's okay. You can remove yourself, from the situation for a moment, or take a deep breath outside. Maybe it's a bit cooler outside. Maybe there's a fan. You can, get fresh air a little, at least, a little bit. Change in the temperature of your body is very powerful. And the key is here to get out of your head and into your body. So this is the point where your logical brains shut off. So talking or doing things with your partner to keep engaging in this thing or texting back is something you have to avoid at this point. You will say things you will regret. You will do things you will regret. You will have to take a step back here. and pause. And I go into, much more depth in my courses in this, or one-on-one coaching. If anyone of you is interested, it's very powerful to really learn these tools to heal your anxious attachment, to take control of your emotions and of your beliefs. The second step is, again, rewiring your beliefs. So now let's look at your thoughts behind your anxiety, perhaps. So what is the scariest thought here? Maybe if they're not physically here, we lose connection. Ask yourself, is this a fact or is this fear? You can journal these things and write the thoughts down, because we have so many thoughts a day. And if you actually journal it and write it down, it has such more powerful effect on yourself. But if you don't challenge your limiting beliefs, you will see everything through lenses of fear and abandonment. This keeps you stuck in thinking that long distance is a threat to your survival. Beliefs are very, very powerful. They shape everything you see. And if you don't challenge them, they will distort the way you experience reality. You might feel like the distance is a signal the relationship is doomed, but that's just the belief talking and not the truth. So reframe it to something more true and really ask yourself, what else can be true here? Maybe connection isn't about physical proximity. Is proximity pronounced right? I'm not sure. Anyway, maybe connection isn't about the physical closeness. It's about consistency and communication and the feeling you have. Maybe my partner has shown they care about me in a different way. Find the evidence for that. Maybe I don't have to carry the whole relationship myself. Maybe my partner has different ways of showing me as well they care. You just have to really find thoughts that are powerful for you. And maybe this thing can really be the opportunity for myself to grow and for our relationships to grow. Maybe it's gonna, be the thing that really creates so much more closeness between us. I go deeper into this work really to find your limiting beliefs, to challenge them, to rewire limiting beliefs in my courses and in my one-on-one coaching. I have also programs that heal your anxious attachment style. I have a 4-month coaching container. If you're interested, just hop on a free call with me. This is really powerful stuff, because if you don't challenge your limiting beliefs, long distance will always feel like a threat, and it's not, trust me. But once you learn how to shift your thinking, long distance becomes just like another part of a relationship and not the end of it. Maybe it's just a new chapter. Maybe it's going to be the most amazing chapter you've never even thought of. You can't even imagine right now. And then the third step, again, reconnect with yourself, with your unmet needs. So this is where you shift from focusing on them to focusing on you. And your brain is saying, I need them to be close so I can feel okay. But what do you need in long distance to feel secure? So a plan for daily check-ins, maybe a fun countdown to your next visit, something in your life to look forward to outside the relationship. When you fill your cup yourself, you stop feeling, like this distance is a threat. So really ask yourself, maybe what are your core needs in your relationship and in your life? If it's safety, give yourself daily reassurance, create a safety routine for yourself. Cover yourself in blankets and make yourself very home and cozy every day. And again, involve your partner somehow as well. But then detach yourself also. If your partner then doesn't do the daily check-ins or weekly check-ins, don't make it depending on your partner. Try first to, fulfill your needs yourself and then add your partner into the game. If your main need is connection here, try to connect to yourself first, and then with other people, and then with your partner. And the more you can really learn to connect with yourself through meditation, journaling, being with yourself, the less it feels scary to be less in contact with your partner. And that takes practice, but it's creating a huge shift. A lot of my clients realizes only after, let's say, 2 or 3 months, the more they work on connecting to themselves, the more they realize, hey, you know what, this is actually working. The more I, learn to accept myself more and be with myself more, the less I actually depend on my partner for my happiness. And that's magic. So again, in the shadow part, this is where we go deeper. So because usually the fear of long distance isn't just about the long distance. It's about a core, wound of abandonment and uncertainty. So maybe in the past, people left. Maybe you had to really work hard for love. Maybe you felt that love was conditional, and now your brain is predicting loss before it even happens. So here's the truth. You are not the same person you were back then. And again, anxious attachment style is developed when you are a baby or a very, very young child. So you're definitely not the person or the baby you were when you were very young, right? And your partner is not those past experiences, even if you had a bad experience with your maybe previous relationship who reinforced that core wound. And you can handle this. You can handle any emotions. The work isn't about making sure they never leave or, there's less distance between you. The work isn't just about the work is more about trusting yourself and creating really empowering tools that help you along the journey of life and relationships or marriages. I actually wanted to share with you more tools on how to reassure yourself, extreme powerful tools. But I think I've been already going way past the time. Usually I do 30 minutes. It's nearly already 1 hour. So I will share this tool on really how to create any feelings you want. Next episodes, not sure if it's next week or the week after. So long distance relationships can be very triggering because it brings up a lot of uncertainty. But that doesn't mean you can't handle it. It's just that your brain has been wired to believe that uncertainty is unsafe, which is not true. You want to really challenge this belief, but also learn to, process your emotions. And what will help you also is like creating a plan. Talk with your partner about how can you stay connected, what is actually a plan, what's realistic, and then detach from it if it doesn't happen, because that's where the power lies. Regulate your nervous system, practice calming techniques so your brain doesn't go into panic mode. I love breath work on YouTube. Breathing with Sandy, I think it's called, even just for 5 minutes. If this works for you, I really, really love personally going for walks whenever I feel anxious, moving my body, even just through shaking, and then going outside to connect with just the sun or looking at little birds and slowing down and just being outside helps me so much. Helps also with overthinking, by the way. Again, doing the 4R method. And next week, I'm going to talk to you more about self-soothing and learning how to reassure yourself more. But in short, I'm going to touch it on quickly now. Whatever you want your partner to tell you, tell this to yourself. Either verbally, tell it to yourself in the mirror, write it down. But that's exactly what you want to do if you want to learn to reassure yourself. Just as a quick tip, as a quick secret tip. And then see long distance as an opportunity. It can be, I swear. Instead of seeing it as this threat, see it as an opportunity to grow stronger together, because your brain learns through behaviors. And if you don't see it and label it as a threat, you can step by step learn it as, hey, something comes from this. And you do not have to let your anxiety and your anxious attachment run the show. You're not doomed. You never know how long it's going to last. And you don't have to think about this yet. Stay in the present moment. And you can really build security from within. You have the power. And long distance is really challenging and can be challenging, but it doesn't have to mean disconnection or a threat. And when you stop seeing distance as a threat, you start seeing it as a chapter. Step by step, everything can change. And you don't need to survive long distance maybe anymore, and you can maybe even thrive in it. And if you would like more support with this, I have one-on-one coaching. I have also blueprint and courses that I can help you with as well. Head over to the show notes or message me on Instagram at the Anxious to Secure Coach. I'm happy to help you to heal your anxious attachment style. This would be like an honor for me, and this would really create so much safety for you, help you to really learn to master your emotions, to challenge your beliefs, to really help you to really fulfill your needs. 90-minute VIP coaching call where we can create a roadmap for you, where we can really go into specific challenges, create goals. I can teach you how to process your emotions, to self-soothe, to go through triggers. In any of my longer coaching programs, if you want to heal your anxious attachment style, I have a 4-month coaching program as well, where you become much more secure from within without chasing your partner. If you are a match to that, because I don't work with everyone, it's important for me that I find the right people who actually are invested in this, who kind of match the right criteria and who are the right fit for my coaching program. So just hop on a call with me, and I'm so happy to connect with you, to share with you things on my programs. You can ask me any questions. If you want to hand over any questions from my podcast, and working on your nervous system, on your anxious attachment style is nothing that can happen overnight, even though it happened for me in 6 months. It always depending on where you start, actually, what your past has been like, and how much you actually put in. Again, it's all about repetition and emotions, and 1% daily action is enough, but it's literally like how much you put in, you will get out of it as well. But again, it's all up to you. For example, in my one-on-one coaching sessions, you can always, there's Voxer support as well. So if you message me more during the week, you get more support. But if you don't message me as often, you have enough action step to process on your own. It's very self-led. I work with a lot of women and men who really know exactly what they're doing, because you get all the action tools and steps and exercises on our coaching call. Just if you're stuck or want even more support, you can always message me in between the sessions during our Voxer, like WhatsApp and Telegram support. But it's literally like how much you put in, you will get out of it as well. So that's the very empowering thing about coaching. It's all about you. Anyways, I'm so happy I recorded this via video this time, and I'll see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye bye. If you like this episode, please give me a 5-star rating. If you're listening on any of the podcasting platforms, if you're on YouTube, please follow me, subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye.